Have you ever been out of the country?
Yes, I have, but it's just like across the border into Canada. Not really.
Oh. Kind of hard to be a foreign policy guy. Haven't really spent much time outside of the country. Do you speak any languages?
English. That's it.
Oh man, your worldview is quite narrow, sir.
I don't think so.
Speak Japanese. Of course, I lived over there for about 3 years. That was a good time.
What do you think of the new Japanese prime minister?
So okay, let me go ahead and throw this out there. I do not care about foreign country. I am a nationalist. I am a U.S. nationalist. All I care about is U.S. America only. I do not give two craps about any other country.
And you said my worldview was narrow?
Yeah.
And you say you only care about America openly?
Yeah.
You said that Israel's position is to push the Palestinians into the sea as well.
Yes, and I think they should. I firmly believe.
Are you calling for the Israeli government to genocide Palestinians?
No, I'm telling them to relocate them. Alrighty, so how is everything going today? I was listening to you talk about Myanmar, which honestly I don't know much about. So.
Yep, just basically, there's more people picking up arms against the government of Myanmar, raiding police stations and blowing up military vehicles, stuff like that.
Sounds like a fun day at the park.
Sounds like a blast. So
literally.
Yeah, quite literally. So you were on a round table. I forget a lot of the topics. I've got to remember. I can go back and check quick. But I was on a round. Yeah.
We were, so basically I was discussing how I believe that if we could bridge the gap between urban and rural communities through economic means. So that's where I guess we started to
I remember I said
disagree.
that I believed that the impossibility of, or the problem with modern America coming together in a bipartisan manner is that I believe that modern American communities live in different realities when it comes to the medias they consume, when it comes to what type of problems they see in their communities, the people they see around their communities. And I think that panel was actually like self-evident of that, of two different realities being lived in by left-wing and right-wing America.
Oh, see, I disagree, man. Look, I firmly believe that the left and the right, for the most part, actually, we have kind of the same goals. We just have different ideas of how to get there. That's really where I find the majority of the issues to be. It's the rhetoric. Personally, I think I think, look, you want equality, I want equality. Now, how do we get there? That's where the minutia is. That's truly the difference. I firmly believe that a lot of times you just don't be a dick, and a lot of things work themselves out. And when you actually tie people through economics, the cultural stuff tends to disappear, in my opinion. It's just what I've noticed throughout my lifetime, my travels and everything else. Everyone kind of wants the same thing universally, for the most part, around the world. It's just we have different ideas of how to get there, and that's really where the cultural differences and everything else comes up.
Yeah, but I would say that the left and the right completely disagree on, like, not only social issues but economic issues as well, and the facts behind them, right? For example, like the left and the right disagree on how you get a stronger working class. The left and the right disagree about things like the Black Lives Matter movement. So when they say like equality, that also word can mean different things to different people. Some people think that like equality under the law, that, well, this law says it isn't illegal to like for interracial marriages, or illegal for black people to go in businesses, so we've achieved equality, where other people would say, I don't think we've achieved equality due to economic inequality. So these words mean different things to different people. The facts, we disagree on the facts, and we also disagree how to get there.
There's some truth there. I mean, a lot of people don't understand that equality does not mean equity. And those are two different words, and that's why they are actually different words in the dictionary and everything else. a lot of people conflate things that should not be conflated. I agree. There is a different languages spoke, even though we all, for the most part, most of us speak English. A lot of us don't actually speak the same language, and that's kind of the problem. And so, a lot of times, if we can work past that, a lot of things tend to work out a lot better. Just my opinion.
Well, I think that there are certain people and certain positions that are completely stopping that coming together. I do believe there's like an ability for bipartisan consensus on things like the drug war. Like, I believe libertarians and Democrats have a lot of agreements on like the drug war, but I don't believe that the current people, politicians, news organizations, all of these things are not pushing towards that. For example, like during our discussion, and I'll just use this, like, we completely disagreed on some like just like basic facts of the situation, right? And if we disagree on basic facts of the situation, then even if we think that we want to get to the same goal, we're not going to have anywhere close to the same like strategies or bipartisan consensus. The major one for me would be like towards the end of it. You suggested that like Ilhan Omar was a member of Al-Shabaab or supported Al-Shabaab in some way.
Well, I mean, she, as a child in Somalia, she was forced into terrorist camps where she was actually a member, and she does openly support terrorist organizations such as Hamas. I mean,
she openly supports Hamas. Okay, number one.
Yes.
Okay, so let me ask you a question. Would you, if I was to say to you, right, that, well, I believe that Iranians, right, they're all in a terrorist organization, you'd be like, that's a ridiculous position. I'd be like,
of course, it's ridiculous.
Wait, what about the IRGC, which controls the government? Therefore, you live under the government, you pay taxes to the government, they're paying for a terrorist organization. Therefore, they're all funders of terrorism. That would be a ridiculous position. And I find the conclusion that she's a supporter or a member of Al-Shabaab, or like bringing that up in that way, was to imply that she's a supporter of terrorism. Which,
no. She's a supporter of terrorism because she's openly talked about her support for Hamas.
Give me one example of her support for, where she said Hamas shall bring hellfire upon Israelis. Like, tell me. I'd like to hear it.
She has never come out and just said that direct.
So where's her support for Hamas? I'd like to see it. Like, that's a huge accusation. That's like calling someone like a pedophile. Like, that's one of the worst things you could accuse somebody of.
Oh no, not from the left. That's nowhere near the worst thing, but okay.
No, on the left wing hates pedophilia. I believe so.
Oh yeah. Most do. Most people do. I don't even play that game. Let me. Ilhan Omar. Let's just go through her Twitter history for the past, I don't know, 10 years.
Okay.
And she'll just, because she does talk about how Hamas is pretty decent and everything else in her pro-Palestinian stance.
Really?
Which
one example.
I'm looking, guy. I didn't even know what we were talking about. I mean
I'm a foreign policy guy. When I hear that accusation,
have you ever been out of the country?
Yes, I have, but it's just like across the border into Canada. Not really.
Oh. Kind of hard to be a foreign policy guy. Haven't really spent much time outside of the country.
There's a lot of people who travel around the country and are stupid as fuck. I've met a lot of soldiers.
I fully agree.
I've met a lot of soldiers who are really smart and a lot of soldiers who are really dumb. I think people can know a lot about an issue without direct personal experience.
I believe without actually going on the ground, learning the culture, learning the people, you can't fully understand the area nor their needs, their wants, their values.
That's why people specialize in different things. Like, I'm not a translator, and I don't want to be a translator.
Do you speak any languages?
English. That's it.
Oh man, your worldview is quite narrow, sir.
I don't think so.
That's a take. I mean, I speak Spanish, not fluently. Speak Japanese. Of course, I lived over there for about 3 years. That was a good time, man.
Okay.
Love Japan. Spent a lot of time in the Middle East. Not a big fan of that, but hey.
What do you think of the new Japanese prime minister?
So okay, let me go ahead and throw this out there. I do not care about foreign country politics. I'm a nationalist.
So what you're saying is traveling doesn't necessarily give you that knowledge then?
No.
Okay.
I haven't been in Japan since 2008.
Okay.
So what's going on in their politics right now? I don't know, because I am a nationalist. I am a U.S. nationalist. All I care about is U.S. America only. I do not give two craps about any other country.
And you said my worldview was narrow?
Yeah.
And you say you only care about America openly?
Yeah. I will gladly say that. All I care about is policies that push forward America. But when it comes to understanding other countries, yes, I have gone there. I have witnessed what goes on there. I've talked to the people. I learn about their stuff, but I mean, I don't keep up with it because it doesn't directly affect me. And it doesn't directly affect most people. But I do find some of this stuff interesting. You know, the idea that that Palestine, some people are so hell-bent on speaking up for them, and I find that to be interesting because a lot of the people who you see talking that would, well, go for flying lessons. And it's kind of disgusting, actually. The Palestinians have openly
You do know that
Hamas.
I can't marry a man in Israel, right?
Yes, I am well aware, and I don't see why that's really a problem for you. You're not in Israel.
Well, it's a problem for me because I care about gay rights, and if your thing is, well, in Palestine, there's not a lot of gay rights.
There's actually more gay rights in Israel than there is in Palestine.
Yeah, but if your point is why, if the whole thing is like the Israel-Palestine struggle, and we're basing it off of, well, they would treat you better there than they would here, why shouldn't I bring up the fact that the Israeli government also doesn't have a great history when it comes to the LGBTQ community?
I hear you.
And and just because the government wouldn't treat me well, or people wouldn't treat me specifically well, I mean, ultimately, what impact does that have on my daily life when I'm trying to preserve someone's existence, right? For example, right? Here's a great example. I don't think that the Polish government of 1939 would have treated me, a homosexual, very well. Neither would the Nazis. No. But does that mean
to be fair, Poland today probably wouldn't treat you that well either.
Exactly. Does that mean I shouldn't advocate for Poland not to be invaded by the Nazi regime just because Poland wouldn't treat me well? Because I don't just have a self-interest. I have an interest for all human beings existing. And right now, a big issue for Palestinians is the amount of civilians getting killed in airstrikes. And I also am not like a supporter of Hamas. I think they're a disgusting organization, but I don't see why my sexuality would stop me from caring about the Palestinian struggle.
Well, see, I just don't care about the Palestinian struggle because they've never had a country, never will be a country, and never should be a country.
So do you believe the United States should be a country?
Yes.
The United States didn't exist until 1976.
Conquered the land. We took it.
That's
what is the Palestinians taken?
So under that justification, then, if the Palestinians wanted a country, should they stuff bombs in cars and blow up Israeli military posts then? I mean, if we're using the logic of they need to conquer it, then should the message we should tell them is, if you want a country, push Israel into the sea? Which seems like a ridiculous message to send the Palestinians.
So you're a foreign policy guy, so I'm sure you're quite aware of the UN councils and stuff about how they watch over Israel and everything, right?
Somewhat, yeah. I don't know every single UN resolution, but I try to keep up.
Well, no, and I don't expect you to. No one should know all that. It's ridiculous to expect anyone to think that. But the deal is the Palestinians have never held land. When the British actually ceded that land over to what is now considered the Israelis, to the victims of the Holocaust, I don't know who all was grouped in, right? Because it was Holocaust victims. It was some people being moved from Europe, and also some Jewish people that was still in the area. is what it was ceded to in what 1946, 47. It's one of those years. Israel was immediately attacked by Egypt, Syria, Lebanon, Jordan. They actually defended their land. The Palestinians weren't even a thing. In fact, Palestinian in Arabic it's kind of a slang word for nomad because they have never held land. They never will hold land. They are used as a political pawn to beat Israel over the head. Now, is that good or bad? I'm not going to sit there and make judgment on that. But I am going to tell you that it is just historically accurate to state.
If we're using UN resolutions, then you would have to acknowledge that the UN community considers Israel an occupying force when it comes to Palestinian territory, the Golan Heights when it comes to Syrian territory, and the territorial line they agree to is the Green Line. And these agreements were made under the pretext that that Palestine would get a state. And the Palestinians have their own unique culture.
The two-state solution has been offered multiple times by the Israelis. It has been denied systematically by Hamas every time.
Okay, so wait. I just want to clarify quickly that if we're using UN resolutions, that the UN views Israel as an aggressive, occupying force, constantly breaking international law due to the settlements on the West Banks, and those settlements are illegal under international law. So if we're using this, Israel is currently an occupying force. Do you agree with me that they're an occupying force?
Yes, and I am completely fine with being that.
Now, the idea of these different proposals, which proposal that was offered do you think they should have agreed to and was fair to them?
I think the two-state solution was probably one of the most fair solutions. I think the only problem with that is that it didn't actually connect.
That wasn't the question. The two-state solution
is... UN?
I'm asking, I'm asking, what time has the Israeli government offered them a deal that you think was fair? Because you're saying, because people can offer deals and it could be a raw deal. Like, if I offered, I'd like to offer you a sandwich, and in return, I get your home, you'd be like, well, that's a terrible deal. So which deal? Not the two-state solution is like a framework. It's like saying, capitalism. It's a general framework for how a country should be run or how this deal was made. So what specific, one?
I honestly believe
1947 or what?
No. I think that at this point now, the two-state solution should be off the table. The Golan Heights is Israel's land. So is the West Bank. So is the Gaza Strip. I have no problem with them linking arms and marching people out into Arabic worlds. I don't care at this point. With everything that has happened between the Palestinians and the Israelis, I think that, honestly, it doesn't matter what the UN states anymore. The UN is...
You're not answering my question.
Yes. If the two-state solution that was offered in I think it was 97, 98, probably was quite fair, which allowed them to...
Talking about the Oslo Accords? Is that what you're talking about?
I'm not sure. I'm running all this off the top of my head. It is...
Because that was 93 and 95.
Okay. Let me look up the Oslo Accords.
But if you're talking...
Because Yasser Arafat was involved, if I remember right.
So that would be the Oslo Accords. Yes. That was 93 and 95. So what do you think about... if you think... Fair. So what do you think about right of return, then?
Right of return?
That was a big sticking point in the Oslo Accords.
Okay, so this is something I'm not fully. What is right of return?
Right of return is the idea that there are many Palestinians, definitely at the time and today, who had territory which is now considered Israeli territory. They had homes there, they had property there, they had money there, and due to the conflict, many of them were pushed out. And right of return was the concept that, okay, maybe you could keep these settlements or something if it meant that Palestinians who were displaced by conflict, they had a right to return to that land. And that was a sticking point that there was never really an agreement to. We can move off of this if Israel-Palestine's not a big thing for you.
No, look, seriously, a lot of
I'm interested in hearing the terrorism statements from Ilhan.
Yeah, and I'm looking for that. She's had to retract a lot of things. I mean, we all know about her anti-Semitic tweets. But I'm trying to find the exact ones. This was about a year or two ago. And that is, oh no. Let's see. Omar apologizes
Let me finish this.
for anti-Semitic tweets. Which I hate searching Twitter and everything.
Yeah, Twitter is a hellscape. I'm
Oh,
not
it
a huge
is,
fan
man.
of Twitter.
I mean, I don't even really do Twitter, so kind of.
I like Twitter.
Not
I mean,
my
I
thing.
like it. It's just you get a lot of pointless arguments on the website.
Yeah. And what I think is funny is like this. Okay, like here we're at least face to face. I
Yep.
mean, we're at least showing our face. There's a
Yeah.
little bit of honesty to it.
Yeah, I don't like arguing with people who, like, I can't see their face. I don't know who they are. I don't know their name. Everybody knows my name. Dylan Burns is my name. You can look it up.
Yeah.
There's multiple articles on me. I've worked for multiple campaigns. Like, you know who I am. You can see me.
Yeah.
But a lot of people just random profiles.
And I actually watch you.
You
Believe
do?
it or not. Yes, I do. I do watch you. I normally lurk in chat because, well, look, I like listening to different points of view. We don't always see eye to eye, but there's a lot of things that me and you can agree with. That's what a lot of people, they're like, oh, why would you listen to him?
What's your favorite video or stream?
I really don't have one yet because I haven't consumed enough of your stuff to really. I'm still filling you out. What I do like watching you on the Hippy Dippy. I've enjoyed that. Sometimes I think sometimes you say things just to set people off, which I think is funny. You're a bit of a troll at times, and that's what I think is more fun. But you seem to be pretty reasonable overall.
When you say you've watched me for like 2 weeks?
Yeah, right about 2 weeks. Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah. No, it's look, I'm not going to sit there and make a judgment on someone based on 2 weeks worth of content, right? Because I'm not going to go through all your history. I've got 4 years worth of stuff on YouTube. I doubt anyone would want to go watch all that. I wouldn't want to. I've done some cringe ass shit in my time. Although I did laugh at the Chinese, the singing the Chinese. Yeah, I thought that was.
Would you like to help me sing "Happy Birthday" to the Chinese Communist Party?
No, fuck the communists.
Okay.
Just no. Look, Ilhan Omar has said multiple times. She has done multiple anti-Semitic things.
So
she has mentioned, which I fully believe. I fully believe that if you call the land Palestine, you're basically supporting Hamas, in my opinion.
So would you say that basically every government on earth is a supporter of Hamas, including President Trump, because he's called it Palestine?
Sure.
So Trump is a supporter of Hamas.
Yeah, if you sit there and acknowledge them as a legitimate government, yes, you support them because they are.
How does a government become legitimate in your eyes?
Well, they don't sit there and perform acts of terrorism on the norm.
Okay, so would you?
Yes, the U.S. has actually done that too.
So the American government isn't legitimate.
To a point, no.
Because I believe like governments get legitimacy through like elections and stuff like that, right?
Elections are part of it.
Yeah, and so my problem with Hamas's legitimacy might have to do with the fact that there hasn't been an election in Palestine since 2011. It's the same problem I have with Fatah. But so the thing is, I know that a lot of conservatives had problems with like claims about Trump, right? Where people would say like Trump said this evil racist thing, right? And then people would ask them to follow up or source it or show evidence, and they wouldn't. You know, they wouldn't, or they would. In my opinion, I think they would more, but you would probably say they wouldn't because they wouldn't have it. And so I'm like, you know, I'm here and I'm waiting and I'm being very patient for like this thing on Ilhan, and it feels like this is gonna end with like, well, maybe that didn't exist.
Okay, so it might be Fox News gaslighting. How about that?
Okay.
Because it's just like I watched the San Francisco Gay Men's Choir sing that cringeworthy song that they sang, the "We'll Convert Your Children" song, and I'm like, I bet Fox News is going to go, they're coming after your kids. Look out. And I'm just like, oh, that's horrible. You know, so I'm not on Twitter. So I just go by what news I have consumed. Some of it has been Fox News. So I will sit there and concede, you know what? Maybe I was wrong there. But she does openly support Palestine. It's consistent with my thought. You support a terrorist quote unquote government, yeah, you're pretty much terrorist.
So if what's your definition of, and you if you so wait, do you support the American? You said you're American nationalist, but then also acknowledge
Yes.
that America has committed terrorism. So would that you make you a terrorist sympathizer as well?
No.
Well, why not?
Although, well, I wouldn't be a terrorist sympathizer because honestly, I don't really buy into the ideology of any of it. When it comes down to it,
And you
look,
think Ilhan buys into the ideology of Hamas, or Donald
oh,
Trump does because Donald Trump also called Palestine Palestine? Or what about Jared Kushner? He also probably called it Palestine when he was the Middle East peace negotiator, you know?
I don't know. The only thing I know about Jared Kushner is he actually did the Abraham Accords, which I think is probably one of the best things that have happened to the Middle East in a very long time.
Why would you say that?
Well, same thing like when I was talking about binding people through economics. That is what's happening with Israel and states like the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia,
Uh-huh.
uh, Qatar, UAE. That is how you end a lot of the stigma. The fact that they've actually opened up their borders to where these people can actually go and visit these areas. Have you ever been? Oh no, you haven't. If you go to Jerusalem and stuff, there's a huge area that is considered sacred to the Muslims,
Uh-huh.
and now a lot of Arabs are able to go there. They can actually perform a Hajj there instead of having to go to that horrible place in Saudi Arabia called Mecca, and they can
Are you
actually.
talking about the what Jews call the Temple Mount, or like the ancient like city of Jerusalem? Like, what you're talking about
Yeah,
that area?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
That's
There's
that's
actually.
the same. That's the second holiest site in Islam, which police raided and beat up protesters, right?
Hmm. Yeah,
And they can go there
that
freely
happened. They
while
can now.
getting shot with rubber bullets.
Well, I mean, that was in response supposedly, and something I did not agree with,
Response to what?
to shelling from the Palestinians or the Hamas people.
So if let's say I'm trying to I don't really know what you're referring to, but let's say that there was a hypothetical situation where after the I don't know temple the Pulse nightclub shooting, we decided to restrict access to Muslim mosques and start peppering them with rubber bullets. Would that be a fair thing to go after people's religion in that way?
Mm, no, not at all. I like I said, I'm not sitting there apologizing for Israel because I
I
don't agree with it. When I saw the videos of them attacking the people in the mosque, I was horrified
I was too.
because you just don't do that, man. Christ's
Yeah.
sakes. But
And there was also a lot of that has to do with evictions in the city of East Jerusalem from people who have lived in these homes for their entire lives and they're being kicked out of it, and that's where a lot of these protests are also coming from. So
mhm.
we can say that they give like Muslims access, but I mean
I mean, to
I
be
personally, if
fair,
someone said I had access to my local church, I live right next to the church I used to go to as a child. But then I went there, and then someone threw in like smoke grenades and flashbangs and shot me with rubber bullets and beat me. That would be some pretty shitty access.
oh yeah, it is. But you know that not just anyone can go into the Temple Mount, right?
Well, I
So like
believe
you have to be a Muslim and you actually have to pass a Muslim test, which is kind of
I
interesting.
I believe that Jews can go to the Temple Mount. There's a question because that's where the Temple Mount. I'm pretty sure that's where the old wall. I'm not an expert in religion, but that's where the wall is.
The Wailing
The
Wall.
Wailing Wall. I might be wrong here, but I'm pretty sure
It's not on the Temple Mount. It is very close to the
they're
Temple
close
Mount.
to the
It's
Temple Mount. The
yeah, it's
question
Temple Mount
there's
adjacent.
there's the thing about going up there. I think is that Jews aren't supposed to pray there, and they can go and actually they can go to the Temple
Well,
Mount.
they can't go into the mount, and that's really the difference.
What do you
A
mean by
lot of
into the mount?
okay, so there's it's basically a big mound, and there was a mosque that was constructed after the first temple of Israel was destroyed. I think it was the first temple, or it might have been the second.
Oh,
But these temples were destroyed by Muhammad, and it is deemed a because Israel was conquered by multiple people throughout history, and the Muslims were no different. They conquered it. In fact, one of the reasons why Israel is considered, well, especially Jerusalem, is considered sacred is because that is where Muhammad died and ascended to paradise.
Are you reading something?
No, I'm drawing.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I do art. I do art for.
Can I see? I love art. My mother was an
Oh,
artist.
yeah. I'm actually working on an emote right now. Let me. Can I share my screen? Yeah. In fact, I'll show you this right now.
Oh, it's one of the
Let me-
CTV emotes. The wolves.
Well, it's yeah. I was working on something here. I'll show you what I did earlier today. What did I name it? Doo-doo-doo. Yeah, I make all my own emotes and stuff like that, and I try to make I'll even make some for you if you'd like. Um, but I do this while I'm streaming because, well, it's a hobby. Here we go. So I made this. CTV didn't like it because it was a little too young for him.
So,
Uh, but hey,
yeah, it's a little, like cartoonish, like kind of like,
yeah.
yeah.
So I do animation, and I do uh cartoons of all kinds, man. In fact, I'm working on doing a live. I guess they call it VR tubing here on Twitch, where I will be doing stuff as a cartoon character,
Hmm.
and in fact, I'll even show you that. It's really just my avatar that I use here on Twitch, but it's that.
Oh, are you a big Warhammer 40K fan?
I do like Warhammer 40K. I like how extreme it is and how fake it is. So, because I would not want to live in
I
that
love the
world.
lore. The lore is interesting. I
Yeah, the
don't play
lore.
the games. The games don't interest me. I have them. I never played them. But the lore is it's like reading a book. It's fun.
Yeah. And they've got a lot of novels, and I'm kind of a nerd about it. I'm starting to get into the novels and everything. So I have built this entire set made of orc skulls and all this other stuff, and it's going to be interactive. Where when people donate, special animations will come up and things like that. I mean, it's a huge process to do. Because look, I don't just talk politics. Personally, I think it's more about culture than anything. We've got to work together as a people to embrace the culture, to improve the culture, stop all this stupid hate, and work together. Believe it or not, and me and you could disagree on a lot, but we could work together on a lot of things too, if you allowed it, if I allowed it, if we all allowed it, right?
Sure. Yeah. I mean,
So
uh-huh.
So, like right now, like, hey, I'm working on something for CTV. Well, why? Because, well, he asked me, and whatever. It's fun to do. It's that I enjoy, and it's something that we can all come together with. We can come together on, and not be divisive about it. It's like, oh, hey, man, you draw this. That's not bad. You may think you may think, hey, some of this is shitty. Cool. Got any suggestions? We could learn from each other,
I was
right?
never. My mother was a very great artist, but I was never a good artist.
Well, see, I'm not a good artist either, man. I played music when I was young. Three Doors Down, good friends with. Grew up with them down in South Mississippi,
Mhm.
and hell, we used to play music together. I remember when they were just starting out, and we used to jam in their jam in Brad's, the lead singer's not basement, but attic. 'Cause we don't have basements in South Mississippi. Growing up in the swamps. But man, it was something that everyone could get together on, right? Didn't
Mhm.
matter. It wasn't as divisive, and that's something I wish we could get back to in the world, to be honest. And so, how do I do it? Well, hopefully, a little bit of art, a little bit of comedy, and we could talk about things, celebrate. celebrate our commonalities, discuss our differences. That's kind of the idea.
Sure. So I just wanted to kind of bring it back over. I
Yes,
do
sir.
think your drawing's really good. The first
Ah,
time the term Palestine was used was in the, I believe, like the 5th century BC.
it
And
was
the
actually Philistine was the term, and it was actually used to describe the Romans. And so
Herodotus described about the district of Syria called Palestine.
the district of Syria.
Called
See,
Palestine.
I'm not too familiar about that.
Okay. Well, I just wanted to say, like, the United Nations, which you were appealing to earlier, so I see maybe you respect them as a body, does recognize the state of Palestine as a sovereign state that is
Mhm.
governed by a government, even though they're two separate governments. So they are recognized as a sovereign state. They have a recognized capital in Jerusalem. They have a governments which you don't like, but they do have a government. And if you are someone who describes yourself as a nationalist, then you must respect the rights of people to govern themselves the ways they
I
see
do.
fit. And they, of course, they have their own anthem. They have their own culture. They have their own identity. I believe that people get consent from the governed, right? That if a government wants to rule its people, it needs the consent of its people, right? Like if
Ooh, I would
all
agree with
if
that.
Americans tomorrow all said, Biden, you are a illegal president or whatever, or we don't believe in you, and like 60 to 70% of Americans said no, they overthrew the government, consent of the governed, they are morally permissible to do that. That's morally permissible. And
Are
so I
they?
believe, yeah, if all of the majority of Americans believe that the situation in the United States was so horrendous, and we could look at this and we could see this and we could document that they see that Biden is becoming a tyrant of some sort and they wanted to overthrow the government, then yes. Now I'm not saying that there's a small minority in every country who believes the government's tyrannical in some way and should be overthrown. I'm talking about an overwhelming majority, not some just fickle moment in time. And the Palestinians have consistently wanted to have their own state. The United Nations recognizes them as having their own state with a capital, with their own government, with all these things. And if I believe that states get their consent from the governed, all it requires for Palestinians to want a state, is for their people to declare, we want a nation. I don't need to look into ancient history books to the times of 2 BC or whatever, really, to figure out if a people should be able to govern themselves. Because America didn't exist until 1776, and if someone came up to me in 1776 and said, Dylan, did you know that this United States of America doesn't even exist? It has no historical basis, I would say. The basis of its existence is not from this history book. It is from our need for self-governance. And
Well,
that's what I
see,
believe for the Palestinians.
I would say honestly that America exists because it actually earned its right to exist, and Palestine is not.
Do you not believe in the consent of the governed then?
I
That
do
that
believe in the consent
so
to the
it's a
governed.
it's a might make right situation.
Well, to a point, yes.
So let's say that
In order to hold
Germany.
territory, one must take territory.
So if Germany stopped after conquering Poland and then genocided the local Polish population, did it earn the right to do that?
Did it earn the right? I mean, you're conflating a moral question with
Do you,
with
do you,
reality.
because my thing is I don't
So
believe just having power is enough for me to say that's why you should have that. So if it's power and conquest is what gave America its right to exist, then if the Nazi regime or whatever regime started invading and conquering, it doesn't need to be the Nazis, it could be the Empire of Japan or any empire, then they could
how did the
smash
U.S.
local sovereignty and
So how did the U.S. come to be?
it came to be through settler colonialism, and
Okay,
they
is that
colonized.
is that
And
a bad thing?
do I believe settler colonialism is a bad thing? Yes, I do believe settler colonialism is a bad thing,
Hmm.
but I do believe
Now,
that America has also brought many good things as well.
I can fully agree that America has brought many good things, but
Because
I'll also
if I
say
came
that
to your home and I said your home's mine now, and if you said no, I killed you and like proceeded to like
wouldn't be my home
rape your
anymore, would
family
it?
members, I would say that's wrong.
I would think that's morally wrong, but All at the same time, I will sit there and say, when it comes down to it, the land was conquered. We actually fought a war in order to become a country. We won that right. And the argument of, oh, well, and they genocided these people, not going to really sit there and go, yeah, that's exactly what happened. Because, yeah, some of the things that did happen was horrible.
You can end the stream, by the way. The watch later. It messes with Discord.
Oh, okay.
But the so this sounds like just like a might makes right kind of argument that because they conquered, they're there. That's morally, or that like so they did it. So then your message to Palestinians would be, push Israel into the sea.
Earn it. Yeah.
Which would that you do know that's the official Hamas position.
Yeah, but I'll tell you the official Israeli position.
So the thing is, your
they
thing
will push the
official Israeli position. The official Israeli position. I don't see any dotted line that says we will push Palestinians into the sea or anything of that sort. But it's weird for me to like the claim of like Ilhan Omar supports Hamas. Even Donald Trump, by saying Palestine exists, supports Hamas. But your moral framework would be like seems to match up with the Hamas stance of push Israel into the sea to claim legitimacy. But you wouldn't be a supporter of Hamas.
No,
like this.
I would not support them doing that. But all at the same time,
they're just trying to gain legitimacy under your model.
Wars are fought to gain legitimacy, and if they want to gain it, then they're going to have to fight it. And I mean, it is what it is. I don't. It is
what it is.
Yeah.
So shouldn't we try to avoid a war and try to come to a peaceful resolution so generations won't get killed and or genocided?
How do you make peace? How do you make peace with people who their primary goal, their party's primary goal, is to literally wipe the Jewish population off the face of the earth? Where do you
you
see
just
Israel
said that's Israel's position.
No,
you said that Israel's position is to push the Palestinians into the sea as well.
Yes, and I think they should. I firmly believe.
Are you calling for the Israeli government to genocide Palestinians?
No, I'm telling them to relocate them.
You do realize how disgusting that position is,
You don't have to kill people to move people. You could call it disgusting.
It is.
I call it a means to an end. Instead of them lobbing bombs at Israel via churches and hospitals and stuff, they just end it. They send them off. Send them away. There's nothing wrong with that.
There is something very wrong with pushing people off their historical homeland and the pain and the suffering that would cause. And then
they were nomadic people. There is no.
The thing is, this is the same. The thing is, you're wrong, because this is the same thing I've heard labeled towards the Kurds that justified the Anfal genocide, which led to the people being shot, killed, and slaughtered by the government of Saddam Hussein. This is the same thing that the Turkish government party line has always been, to slaughter the Kurds, because the Kurds, at the end of the day, they're a nomadic people, so those lands that their children have been living for about 400 years, or not 500 years, 600 years, is not really their land. Therefore, the Kurds are just mountain Turks. Or the government of Bashar al-Assad, when they didn't want to give Kurds citizenship and wouldn't do it until the civil war kicked off, in the Qamishli riots, and the 30 Kurds. This is the line that has been used by governments to genocide, kill, slaughter, and push people out of their homes. I could easily say to you that the Americans are a people who fled Europe and have no right to this land. They're a nomadic people in a sense. They fled all this religious stuff. So therefore, if China was to come here and push the Americans into the sea, that's perfectly fine. And but this seems like your moral model means that like everyone's not safe from relocation.
Well, see, I just look at everything from a historical perspective where there is no such thing as land ownership without actually holding it. You have to hold it.
So if I come
you cannot hold it, if you cannot hold it, then it's not yours.
Marlin sock $10.
So wait. Then would you endorse the Madagascar plan then?
I don't even know what the
The
Madagascar.
Madagascar plan was a Nazi plan to relocate all the Jews to Madagascar.
No, I don't. But people can be moved. People have been moved. It has happened. Is it right? No,
So
not
what
necessarily.
is so if you don't think it's right, then you should say they shouldn't do it. Not, well, but they have all the power, so it is what it is. And I feel
Well, I
like it's
mean,
like an easy position for like an American to have when we have the most powerful military on earth, is to say
do we?
screw them. We
Do
do.
we?
We do.
Do we? Could you
Yes.
name a war that the U.S. has won since World War II?
Kuwait,
I'll wait.
the Gulf War, Yugoslavia, 1993, 1994, 1995, and 1999. There's 2 wars.
Yugoslavia.
Yugoslavia, both Yugoslav conflicts, and Kuwait.
Okay, so
The
Kuwait,
invasion of Grenada.
okay, now the invasion of Grenada was not a war. It was
Not a war,
conflict.
but Kuwait was.
Kuwait was a war. Well, I mean,
And we
legally,
won. We pushed
we
them
did win.
out. We destroyed Saddam Hussein's guard
We did win.
and disabled his
did
ability
win
to
that
invade Kuwait ever again. This is not only access under U.S. guidelines, but under UN guidelines.
So, what about Afghanistan, where we've been there for 20 years?
Wait, I didn't say that every war we've ever fought in since World War II
Yeah,
we've won, but we have won wars. And the thing is, we can have you can have the most powerful military on earth and not win in a traditional sense.
And lose to a bunch of guys with AK-47s.
Yes. Well, the thing is, then the argument would be that both during the Cold War, the Soviet Union and America did not have the most powerful military on force. It was Afghanistan, because Afghanistan beat both of us. Like that, because what?
I wouldn't say they're the most powerful force, but I will tell
We
you
have
that the US
more
cannot
military
fight.
bases around the world than China could
That's a
ever
problem.
dream of having, which gives us the ability to respond to conflicts anywhere on the globe in the blink of an eye with fighter jets obliterating our enemies. We spend more than almost the 10 next nations combined. We have military technology. Yes. Yes,
Yeah.
that is a fact. What do you mean?
No, I said you are right there.
Oh, okay. I thought you said yeah.
No,
right.
no.
Okay.
No. Look, I think that we shouldn't have as large of a military. I don't believe that we should have such an international presence. I firmly believe that every United States American soldier should be back here in America yesterday. Every country that we do not have an exact treaty with to be there, we need to be gone. I don't think that's a bad thing. Why are we still occupying Japan?
So so occupying and so I don't know how we're going to get back into legal definitions of occupation when a nation wants our troops there, right? Because we could say it's an occupation, but if you poll the Japanese people, if you poll them, they want American troops there. The same with the Korean people, which is different than, say, Afghanistan's people, which is different than, say, the Iraqi people. There's a distinct difference between our troop presence in Korea and Japan in comparison to Iraq and Afghanistan. And I don't know if we really want to get into the specifics of each conflict, because the thing is, we have completely different interests. My interest is not just like how many like let's bring all the troops home in complete totality and to kind of abandon the world stage in a nationalistic framework.
I don't want to abandon the world stage. I just don't want to be the world police anymore.
You don't need to be the world police per se to have an international presence or troops in different parts of the world.
But that's what we've been, and that's what the world expects us to be. You do realize, like, Kosovo, we had no business in.
I think we had a business in there.
I went there. You're welcome.
So
Afghanistan, we had.
What do you mean? Wait. Okay. Okay. I mean this in the most respectful way possible. I've talked to a lot of veterans on this channel because I talk foreign policy, and people will usually pull the card, and I will say I'm not a trained soldier, so if you wanted to tell me how to properly hold a rifle or to what bush to hide and to fire a rifle, that's one thing. But talking about the morality or the need to be involved in that conflict is another thing. Someone can go into a conflict and not know the inner workings of the Yugoslav government or Milosevic or the conflict that happened there or exactly these specifics. I've talked to somebody who told me they were in Syria and then claimed like some bizarre things about Syria that were completely untrue. So you can't just say, I was in Kosovo, you're welcome, next topic, as if like that's a way to just dismiss me.
No, I just sit there and think that we had no reason to be there because it didn't affect America. That is the US military exists for one purpose and one purpose only. Do you know what that is?
I believe it is to protect the United States Constitution.
There you go. No,
right?
That's it. That is it.
But I believe military should do other things than just protect their sovereign borders.
Well, look,
wait. Let me be clear. I just want to test your model then. To be clear, you would have let the Holocaust continue then.
We had no business to be there.
Okay, just to be clear, that you would have let the Holocaust continue.
We didn't even know about the Holocaust until we actually
Yes, we did. Yes,
Germany.
we did. There was a lot of reports coming out. There was our governments had knowledge way before our troops landed at D-Day that there was something going on there that needed more. For example, we know that there's something going on in China right now with the Uyghurs, right? We know there's something going on. But we don't have troops there. And I'm sure that if we landed full-team investigators, we would learn the true scale of what's going on. Because right now, it's a lot of, like, stuff with, like, satellite information and testimony and stuff like that, which these things existed in 1944 before our troops landed. So we had a general idea that there was a Holocaust going on. But even outside of that point, that wasn't my point. Yeah, bad stuff. But there was people being shifted to camp. We had planes going over Germany. We saw facilities.
Actually, we didn't have planes going over Germany until we started the bombing campaign. The bombing campaign did not start till after Pearl Harbor. We did have a small contingency of pilots in Europe assisting the RAF, but they were not going in. They were not going into German airspace. They were the defense force for England. So what we actually knew is still debated today. We knew there was a mass exodus of Jewish people from Germany. We heard the stories.
The British were bombing Berlin in 1939.
The British were bombing. We were not.
So wait, you do know that British and American intelligence sharing was occurring?
Yes.
Yes.
You do realize, though,
we knew about this, like we knew like about what was going on in Poland, like way in advance. Okay.
Yes.
Wait, this right here was my main point earlier. We live in two totally separate realities with two totally different values. You said we want the same things. We don't want the same things, me and you. We don't. Okay. Like you say, like we all want to get to the same goals. I believe that the United States should be much more active on the world stage, and but when it comes to that activity, I believe we've been doing it in an incorrect manner. I believe we should be giving more sovereignty to things like international organizations, which I know as a nationalist, you completely disagree with. And I also believe that nations like that the people of Palestine deserve a state. You don't want the same things as me. You said you do, but we don't. We live not only on different facts, but we want completely different worlds.
I disagree, but we may not agree on everything.
Do you think Palestine should have a country?
I believe if Palestine wants their own country, they should get it. They should earn it.
That's not an answer to my question.
I do not think that anything should be given. Just like I'll tell you right now, I don't believe that the Native Americans deserve their own sovereign nation that we fund. So I live in a state
might makes right person. Okay.
I live in a state that the U.S. government has decided to cede half of because of the McGirt decision, because we went back on a treaty. I actually do not disagree with that decision. However, where I have the problem is the fact that U.S. taxpayers
wait a fucking second. Israel was given to the Jews.
Yeah, you're right.
So should it have not been given to them in 1947, therefore pushing back upon the entirety of your argument from earlier?
They actually fought.
Yeah, they were given it and then they fought it. Yeah, but
and then they earned it. They earned it right there.
So they were given something, and then afterwards, when they fought to defend that thing they were given, they earned it. So, but you said people shouldn't be given things. They were given that. They earned it after being given it. So if that's the case, if you and me, so I should just like, so if I like gave someone, so the government like gives someone a $5,000 and then they defend that $5,000, is that fine? Should the government now give everybody $5,000? Like this feels like it would go against like your ideological foundation.
I I don't see where money, fiat currency
Well,
has anything to do with
the
land.
point
It's a
is
little
like if you
different.
believe someone has to earn it, being given that land is not earning it.
And
Then afterwards defend it. I mean, that seems like post hoc
does
justification.
does uh does the government own anything?
Does the government own anything?
Mhm.
Currently, yeah.
No, no, no. Does the government own anything? How can they give anything that they do not earn, that they do not actually produce? The government itself is a big black hole.
Government
Without
produces money that it
taxpayers,
gives.
no, no, no. There is a private organization that is licensed by the government to make fiat currency. The government itself does not make a damn thing. Never has. Would you
What does
disagree?
this have to do with Israel?
You're saying the government gives you something. No, no, no. They
No,
just
this
handed
there
back
was a
money.
comparison, not about based
Well, it's
upon.
not a
Oh my god.
so no, it's I'm being technical.
So let's
It's
remove ourselves from that and back to the Israel thing then.
okay.
If you don't think that's a good one, okay. So they were given that territory in the
Mhm.
1947 decision,
Mhm.
and there was going to be like partition of Palestinian and Israeli territory. There was going to be
Mhm.
this idea of these two nations. They were given it.
And
They were given that. And you think things should be earned. You think is that after they were given it, they earned it. Why
oh yeah.
shouldn't they have to earn it before? Shouldn't the Jews have had to like get guns beforehand and invaded Palestine?
Well, I mean, as soon as the British left, what happened?
They fought. So
Yeah, they
so so
fought.
so people can earn it after the fact then.
You can earn things. Yes, you can be handed
After
things
being
and
given
earn them.
things.
Yes, you can earn them.
So if the Palestinians conquered Israel, see this model
I
seems like
just
it's a
don't see they could do that. I just don't see it happening. But yeah,
yes, and then that's the sad reality is now this is a might makes right world. What you're claiming, which I mean you're a nationalist, so it doesn't surprise me. That's why we want different things. We do want different things. We don't want the same
actually, I
things.
want the U.S. at total peace.
The U.S.,
That's
but
it.
that's all you care
Yes,
about.
that's all I care about.
So we don't want the same.
Okay, I care about the U.S. I don't think that's a bad thing.
Yeah, but I think that number one, I think your model would leave the U.S. worse off, most certainly. National stage. If all we did was kind of like recede inward, we like peace internationally benefits the United States, and
You
finding
are
peace
well.
between Palestine and Israel, finding peace in the Sudanese conflict, finding peace in Myanmar, finding peace in Syria, finding peace around the world benefits the United States because stable countries have stable consumers, and stable
Mhm.
consumers can buy U.S. products, and this trade internationally can benefit America.
So you are good. So you are actually you're talking about one of the things that I talk about is diplomacy through economics.
The
And
the
this was actually my point. This was my point between the rural and urban communities. The way that works is by bringing manufacturing back to the states and
but
people.
you don't want to get involved in any manner to resolve these conflicts. You kind of just want to leave them be and say whoever
I've
is a
already
stronger
done all
person
that.
wins.
I've already done all that. I've been to Iraq, Afghanistan, Kosovo. I've been to South America for the stupid freaking drug war. I have been on every continent with the exception of Antarctica, being the tip of the freaking spear when it comes to stupid foreign policy. Seeing my brothers and sisters in arms getting blown to bits while a bunch of pseudo intellectuals talk about how they want to create this grand old amazing world through economics, and yet it turns out every time it's people like me that have to go down there and fight some stupid freaking war. Now, when the US government has decided to turn its US military into nothing more than a mercenary outfit for the corporate oligarchs, yeah, I've got kind of a problem with that.
Did that
And
happen
I
in
think you
Kosovo?
should too. Kosovo was more of a UN thing, and really it wasn't. It was all controlled over the UN. The US participated. We really didn't run things. A little bit of a difference. When it comes
We were majorly the UN was involved and there was restrictions involved, but we were the leading force in Kosovo.
I worked for the French.
Congratulations.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So I once was slapped by I don't know, a dog. Dogs go and slap everyone. Like that personal, great. The UN did have sovereignty over that. Is why I think that was a lot more effective than 1995. But we were majorly also. There was a lot of stuff we did also have control over.
I've been to
Also,
Sudan.
the French work for me. I have a French editor.
That's funny. But no, I didn't mind being under the command of the French. I mean, honestly, they're not bad people. But all in all, I think that the US should limit extremely what they do overseas when it comes to the use of military force. Right now, we spend more time, we devote more money for protection of corporate ideals than we do American ideals. For Christ's sakes, I will tell you that the only righteous war that the U.S. has been in my tenure has been Afghanistan, and that was only because it was for retaliation. And once we killed Osama bin Laden, we should have been the hell out of there.
So you do not believe a war against genocide is a righteous war?
I think a war against genocide is a morally good war. You know, as far as war can be moral.
Well, then it's
but all
good.
At the same time, the U.S. had no reason to be there.
So what? Okay, so this is strange because if I acknowledge something is the moral thing to do, and it's the correct thing to do, then I think we should do it. But your thing is like, well, we don't have a right to be there because of what, like sovereignty issues or. That means that if something's a moral thing to do, you should do it. If it's moral to disobey a law, you should disobey that law.
Okay. So my whole thought process behind it is this. How was it affecting American sovereignty? Was it endangering anything American? If the answer is no to either of those, we don't have to be there, nor should we. If people decide to go there, that's a different animal.
So you acknowledge that this would make the world a better place, I assume, to intervene against this genocide. It's the moral thing to do, but we shouldn't, because we should act selfishly and just in the interest of only American lives. Because under this is like a framework that just interests. This is a framework that leads to easy imperialism, right? This leads to easy, like, I can go into your country, I could bust you the fuck up, I could take your shit. And if it benefits the United States, that's a good thing to do. Or, hey, the people here who have been colonized, the Native Americans, we don't need to really consider what the hell they want to do, because at the end of the day, we won the war. We get to do what we want to do. Like, this feels like it's a very convenient framework that leads to, like, you know, non-Native Americans basically like at the top of the totem pole.
I don't care about race. So Native Americans, the native population here in Oklahoma where I live.
Do you believe they should have sovereignty over their own selves?
Yes, I believe they should have sovereignty over themselves because we have treaties. And under that, they should have sovereignty.
If there wasn't treaties, but they still wanted it, should they have it?
They had to fight for it.
So it's all about the law then. You're a law and order guy.
No, I actually believe that if law is unjust, you fight against it. It's not like I don't blindly follow the law.
So if Israeli occupation is unjust, what should people do?
They should rise up and fight.
Sound like a Hamas spokesperson.
I could also be a Black Lives Matter person. I could also be all kinds of different things. It's really about point of view now, isn't it? At the end of the day, if people think that something is unjust, they should fight.
I just want the United States government
the
to know
consequences.
that I do not endorse the pro-Hamas statements of my compatriot here. I stand with other Hamas condemners and not likers like Ilhan Omar against this pro-Hamas sentiment.
I hate Hamas.
But if Palestinians want it, what should they do if they want sovereignty?
They should actually fight to get their sovereignty.
How should they fight?
That's up to them.
So that's very interesting that we can't so if that's up to them, then like the launching of missiles into like Israel could be morally justifiable in the act of resistance then?
Well, they could try to morally justify it, but then they can't cry about it when Israel comes and swacks them for it. And no one else should condemn Israel for doing that. Every country has a right to defend itself and defend it with impunity.
With impunity, like no, they don't. They no holds barred then.
Exactly.
So they could genocide them, and that'd be fine.
No, I'm not.
Why would that? Would they could claim that self-defense?
Whatever they feel.
The Germans claimed that the genocide of the Jews was just self-defense for a backstabbing in 1918 with the Treaty of Versailles.
Yeah, I don't think the Jews did that, but hey,
that's what they claimed. Self-defense.
Well, personally, I think that we fought Germany. It was a righteous fight. But I also don't think that we should have been there. I think we should have fought Imperial Japan and then moved on to Germany if we had to.
They declared war on us, though.
The Japanese declared war on us first.
And then the Germans declared war on us, and then the German submarines were targeting American What?
You do realize that the Japanese attacked America.
Yes,
Germany
but if I punch
you,
yes, they okay. Do you believe U.S. ships at all are in the interest of the United States?
There was shipping that was attacked. In fact, there was a lackluster movie by Tom Hanks, Greyhound, about that, which I thought was interesting. They finally come out with something like that. But yeah, it's no, the exploits of what happened in the battle in the War of the Atlantic is not, but we were doing all that on behalf of Britain or the UK, I think at the time. And the UK actually stated that when we started the Lend-Lease program, that if we actually ran convoys for them for their shipping, that they would handle any type of combat that happened. That they would take the brunt of the combat.
Don't you think that's kind of like up in the air after a nation declares war on you? I mean, I would find a declaration of war to be enough of a justification for a nation to attack the nation who just declared war on them. If we found out tomorrow that Canada just declared war on us, then I think us starting operations against the Canadian government would be completely understandable.
Yeah. But Germany didn't declare war until after the attack.
3 days after Pearl Harbor, they declared war on us. Which a declaration of war isn't like a whatever. It's a declaration of war.
What was the more immediate threat?
The Japanese. Well, really, I mean,
Japanese,
kind of the Japanese, kind of. But they weren't gonna what were they gonna do? Invade the mainland? Invade Hawaii? What were they gonna do?
Well, they could have easily taken Hawaii.
How?
You do realize they conquered over half the Pacific theater before.
Yeah, but Hawaii is a different beast, and we had a totally
different beast. Are you kidding me?
It is a different beast.
That Pearl Harbor was completely rendered useless.
The Japanese overpredicted how much Pearl Harbor would do damage. They thought it would buy them years. It barely bought them a single year. And then the Battle of Midway, 1942, we were completely engaging their ships. There was no way they would have been able to launch a complete invasion of Hawaii by the time we had mobilized our ships. They were too busy invading the Philippines that MacArthur had to flee from when he's made his declaration that he will return. There's no way they could have invaded Hawaii.
I think they could have.
The Midway ended the Japanese naval dominance in the region.
It did, and it was a hell of a battle. And the Navy and the Marine Corps who fought in those battles, man, they did an amazing job, no doubt. But no, the Japanese could have easily invaded Hawaii. Would they been able to hold it? No. They probably would not have been able to hold it, but they would have been able to actually have the US cede territory for a short amount of time. It would have been a bad decision. It was a bad decision to bomb Pearl Harbor. They figured that one out. But the more immediate threat was Japan. The only reason why we went after Europe, the only reason why we went after Fortress Europe is because FDR wanted us to get into the battle over in Europe. And I'm not saying it was a horrible thing,
The thing
but all at
is,
the same time,
we didn't. That's not the position of the United States government. The United States government saw Japan as the people who striked us, but Germany as the real beast of the war. The priority for resource shipment was Germany. The priority for land leasing was to fight Germany. The priority of the majority of our troops was Germany. The priority for the best equipment was Germany. The priority for basically everything was Germany. MacArthur complained many times during the war about how he seemed to be always playing second fiddle for the priority of D-Day and these other invasions of the German soil in comparison to fighting the Japanese. This was a complaint MacArthur echoed many times before he was able to reclaim the Philippines and fight in Okinawa.
And MacArthur, I firmly believe, was right. Because you attack who attacked you.
But they declared war on us.
Yep.
So, okay. So if China tomorrow said, we are declaring war against the United States of America, should we be like, so? Lean back and like, it is what it is, boys. And then before you know it.
That's not what I'm saying, right?
Well, it sounds like it because it feels like you would just let Germany do whatever after declared war on us.
No, I would say you go after the more immediate threat, the one that actually physically attacked your homeland.
Shipping lines with they weren't just attacking over in the British area. They were near American soil with submarines attacking our ships.
Mm-hmm.
There are German submarines in the ocean near America because we sunk them.
There are probably there was also Japanese subs that were sunk in the Gulf of Mexico. Did you know that?
So we fight both.
But we didn't. We fought one, and then we started really fighting the other. I disagree with the tactic. I think we should have went after Japan first. We should have finished it off.
The thing is, we did kind of really go our major naval operations and invasions against Japan kind of first. Then there was Italy, of course, with the invasion of their islands, and which was extremely important for creating more fronts and to tie up the Italian army. And then, of course, like there was. I find it hard to believe that the strategy I find it hard to believe that the strategy that you are proposing would have been more effective at winning the Second World War.
I didn't say winning the World War. I just think that we should have fought Japan and then maybe fight Germany later.
So should maybe fight after they declared war on us? So we just be like, should we send them like a letter? If so, what's the scenario where we didn't fight Germany? Do we send them a letter saying, never mind, it's all good, undeclared war?
Nope.
So what do we do?
You're playing a whataboutism game. Look,
I'm asking what's your strategy, because you said maybe fight Germany. So where's the scenario where we don't?
Well, I mean, we could lose to Japan. That could happen. I wouldn't see that happening because of the distance. I don't think they could actually keep an offensive front against the U.S. But I think that we would have been better suited to have focused on Japan first and finished them, would actually save a lot of problems that happened in areas like China and Korea. You do realize that there was genocides there too, right? Like tons of them.
There was many war crimes in Asia.
You know why they don't talk about that much?
I think we do know about the rape of Nanking. I think it's
no. It happened.
I mean, every history book I've ever read had that in there.
But the reason why they don't talk about that all that much is because, well, the Japanese kind of bow and scraped afterwards. And so since they did that, they were like, oh, well, we won't talk about it as much.
Well, no, it was because the Holocaust was a completely different animal than the rape of
the
Nanking.
Holocaust was horrible. I will,
Yes.
you know, but we did not know
I'm
about the
happy
Holocaust.
it brings so emotion from you that this brings so much emotion from you while also doing absolutely nothing about it if you were in charge.
If I was in charge, I would have stayed with the isolationist deal until I could not anymore. And that's really what FDR did. FDR
Not
tried to
really.
push us. No, he tried to push us into the war in Europe for quite a while, but in the end, he remained kind of on the isolationist side because he could not politically spend that capital. Once we were attacked by Japan, that is when we
So
went full in.
okay. He wrote a tightrope because number one, the domestic population did not want to participate in another war,
Mm-hmm.
but he sent land leases. 40% of, I believe, Russian half tracks were UK and US based, and some years 20% of their food was US based from land lease programs.
Mm-hmm.
We were supporting financially, militarily with real military arms being shipped over the Soviet Union and the British against with their fight against Nazi Germany. I would not call that really isolationism.
Well, by
FDR was
not
never an
engaging
isolationist.
without engaging U.S. troops, which
That,
the only U.S. troops that were engaged were there who were on the defensive for the RAF. We did have Army Air Corps people fighting
so we did have troops
fighting
engaged.
fighters. We did have, but not in an offensive capacity. They were not authorized.
This isn't isolationism. The counter to isolationism isn't, well, we invaded something. It's we're getting involved, sending support, like just involvement. The opposite of anti-interventionism is intervention, which sending land leases is intervention.
Yeah, which I'm pretty much against intervention
You would
these
have been
days.
against sending land leases?
Yes.
Got it. You do
And I
know
don't
the
think
world you're painting could have would have made it more likely for the Nazis to win the war and genocide millions upon millions of people.
well, I mean,
Is what
I'm
it is.
not sitting there saying they should have done that they should do that kind of stuff. I'm not into the mass killing of people based on
Yeah, but
nothing
you
more
wouldn't
than
do anything about
ethnicity.
it.
I'm not going to sit there and no, I'm not going to sit there and sacrifice people just to potentially
Just to
save
stop
someone,
genocide.
just potentially save someone who no, I'm over it. I'm done doing that shit these
Well,
days.
I think I've clearly demonstrated that we don't want the same things.
Okay. What do you
Yeah.
want for America?
I want America to be a good faith actor on the world stage. I want America to support its working class through jobs programs, larger social safety net, and get involved in
What
the
does
and
social
create.
safety net look like?
It
Curious.
could be things like universal health care, government subsidized universal health care. It would be things like large scale programs for maybe work programs, something similar to what we had during Depression, during FDR, with great works programs and stuff like that. But when it comes to its foreign policy, we are just on two completely different planets
We
historically,
are on
and
two different ideological
I am not
spectrums
a
there.
nationalist.
I get that.
Right.
And that's fine, man. I don't expect you to be. It's not a bad thing. We can disagree on things. I'm okay with that.
Yeah,
I'm just
but
tired of
do you not see how
tired of
like not
American soldiers
stepping in
being
to stop a
used.
genocide is not just like a little thing to a lot of people. Definitely when it's things like the Holocaust.
Well,
Like for instance, like I think most Jews would like take a lot of like offense to that.
hmm.
Okay, I don't care. Most Jews would take offense to that. Like if I was a
Well,
gay man and I said gays are getting lynched, I mean, not our business. Like I think most gay people would take offense to that.
Well, yeah, they probably would. But the deal is, I am looking through the historical lens of what we knew at the time. There's a
There was
difference.
multiple reports about what
There
was going on.
there was multiple reports about things that were happening. We weren't exactly sure what. We had no actual proof.
This
Yes, the
this is
Holocaust
similar
did
to the
happen.
Uyghurs in a large extent. Like it'd be
Yes, and
like me
I
saying, like, if somebody says like, it would be like you saying we don't really know what's going on in Xinjiang, you know? Like, I mean, come on, like, really? I mean, like, can we really say that something's going on? Like, we all know something's going on, and we all know it's pretty bad from all the reports we're getting. If we just found out it was worse,
okay,
that
so
I mean, now is enough for maybe not military intervention, but at least like international pressure, Magnitsky sanctions, etc.
well, I think that we should have sanctioned China into oblivion already. I
Why?
I oh, well, because well, hell, COVID. Why not?
Hulk Hogan?
COVID.
COVID.
Yeah, the fact that they will not allow people to investigate, they have done as much as threaten that they are going to increase their nuclear arsenal. If we so much as bother to investigate potential ties between the
Okay.
Wuhan lab, I mean, that
How
right
would
there,
we sanction them into oblivion?
you do realize that without US food, they don't survive well, right?
They'd be
You do.
fine. They'd be
Oh,
fine.
let's test that. Let's put that to the
We
test, shall we?
honestly could, and I'm telling you, they'd be fine. Like, the thing is, if we start sanctioning them, the rest of the world will look at us, say, wow, they're fucking crazy, and then that'd be it.
Mm.
And the thing is, we're trying to push food onto China. If you look at Trump, Trump's negotiations with China during like the tariffs and everything, a lot of the food that was being sent over there in these like hardball negotiations, they were quite frankly saying like, this is so much food that much of this will rot while in containment. And the thing is, we're not the only nation on earth that produces food. You don't think that if we started to sanction them and we were the only nation really doing this, that they wouldn't be able to find other producers of food?
Do you think that the U.S. Navy cannot stop
You
even our
think
near peers from
so?
delivering
You want to declare
anything?
war on China?
No, I don't want to
No, no,
declare
no, no.
war.
If you start trying to stop shipments of food into
That
China,
could be an act
they
of war.
will. That is war. You're asking for two nuclear powers to go to war under that scenario, and you're an isolationist.
Not an isolationist, just a nationalist.
Okay, so if I care about Americans, them not being erased through nuclear war is like a big like concern for me. I don't look good radiated. I don't. Green is not my color. Like if we try to block food imports into China, they will get those food imports some way or the other.
Oh, they'll
They
have to go through land. Yeah,
they
it'll
could go
happen.
through land, and if we try to block their ship, like the odds of like a clash over something like that are like extremely high.
Mm-hmm.
I
Yep.
I think we're just living in two separate realities, my good friend.
I mean, when it comes to what's happened with the Muslim Uyghur population, I think it's deplorable. I don't think it's something, but I also think it's something that America should not
But you
really.
shrug your shoulders.
Yeah,
Because like the thing is, people can hope in one hand, wish in the other. I mean, shit in one hand, wish in the other. Which one fills up first, right? Like we can like hope and pray and like send our thoughts and prayers. It's nothing. It means nothing to them. It would mean the same amount that if you were to hate the Uyghurs and want them all to be erased, it has the same amount of impact on them.
yeah. I
Same thing with
just
the
am worried.
Holocaust.
I'm just worried that people are going to advocate for bringing U.S. soldiers over there to stop the stuff, and I'm not for it.
But you will
I'm
send
against
U.S.
all
forces over
military.
there to stop food imports.
Oh yeah, yeah. I have no problem with denying freedom of navigation. That's actually what the Navy is for. The Navy is actually to sit there to protect U.S. shipping routes and to stop others. That is what they are
Yeah,
designed to do.
yeah. The nukes are designed to bomb and destroy. That doesn't mean we use them to do that if it's not a smart idea. which
Well,
with nukes
no,
is
we
never a
should
smart
not.
idea. And
We
this
should never engage
idea
in
of
it.
blocking Chinese food imports is a terrible idea.
I think we should block all of their freaking minerals too.
What does that
Cut
even
down,
mean?
cut down all the little slave factories they have over there.
What do you mean cut?
Do you
Wait,
realize,
wait, wait.
like,
You call them slave factories. That's very interesting. You said the same thing last time, but
mhm,
it seemed like you just wanted to bring slavery back to America.
far from it?
Well, no, no, no. Your stance was that to undermine their slave factories, I guess it's to do this, but you also wanted to get rid of things like the minimum wage and all these regulations, which what that would
No,
end
I
up.
never said get rid of regulations. I said get rid of the minimum wage. Definitely, yes. I think the minimum wage has done nothing but caused issues.
So what's your stance? So we pass the cost to the consumer, right? That's the first thing that would happen. That's undeniable. We pass the
Mhm.
cost to the consumer. We get rid of the minimum wage, which means people are going to be paying less. They're going to be paid less if we
Uh,
lower that. That is that.
okay,
If show
so
me show me a single economist that would disagree with that.
some jobs would get paid less, yes, and actually wages overall will end up dropping. That's
Yes,
not a bad thing.
that is a bad thing because I care about workers.
Okay, okay. So
See, we care about different things completely. There's no
so
reconciliation here.
here's the thing. Are impoverished have a higher standard of living than probably about 60% of the world. Americans have this way bloated over sense of self-worth. Um, it is what it is. Look,
It is what it is.
someone who
Will
has an
you?
unskilled job, someone who has an unskilled job, who performs unskilled labor, does not deserve
I'm
$15
gonna
an hour.
I'm gonna do you a favor.
Okay.
So if lower wages are good, then I'm gonna allow you to give me 20% of your paycheck to help
Oh
you.
man. No, because I actually no. The reason why I get my paycheck is for what I know, for what I do. And yeah, if you actually had the liabilities I had, you'd want to get paid as much as I am too.
I
Do you have any liabilities in your job? Can you go to federal pound you in the ass prison if you make a mistake?
I make a mistake.
Mhm.
Know what? Unless I start swatting
Okay,
people. Unless I start swatting people, I think I'm good.
okay, so I work on aircraft for a living. I actually help maintain aircraft, big giant chunks of metal that fly overhead. If I make a mistake, I kill at minimum 30 people, at maximum hundreds of who they land on. There is liability with my job. Now, most people don't have that. And that is I made a choice to take on this type of work. That's where the moniker aircraft Sparky comes from. I'm an aircraft electrician. I work on avionics systems and everything else. Planes do not just pull over to the side of the road. So, would my wages go down? Mm, a little bit. But would people who have unskilled jobs go down? Yes. I think we live at an over bloated, hyper-inflated way of life. We really do.
Can
There's
you
nothing
show me
wrong
this
with getting.
working anywhere else in the world where they got rid of the minimum wage and then people ended up having a higher standard of living due to
Do
that?
you know any do you know how many countries have a minimum wage?
There's a lot of countries that don't, but they have other things in place of them. For example, Germany has an extremely strong union. Extremely strong. We don't have that to the same extent.
We
There's
used to
other
have
things that
those.
we used to, and I think we should. Well, not to the same extent as Germany currently. Like the highest ever unionized workforce we had was like 35% over across the board. Like that's the highest we ever got. We truly never had a. We that was the closest we ever got. It was also one of the most prosperous times in American history, for some Americans. Um, I
Like,
so
I
you're
have no
but
problem with
again,
you.
I'm asking this model. Do we have any example of it working?
No.
We
No,
don't.
because I can't really think of anyone that has canceled a minimum wage after setting one.
Because it would
I can't
not
think of
make
one.
sense.
There's a lot of things in the world that doesn't make sense that's been tried.
Well, there's also a lot of ridiculous proposals that aren't tried for obvious reasons. Like if I made a proposal to cut off my balls to fix the economy, I don't think that would be passed by Congress.
Well, I mean, if if you thought I wouldn't want to stop you, but I'd be like, hey man, you may want to think about that. Uh, I think that would be a little ridiculous, but I don't think those two are the same thing.
I think they
Um,
are.
I don't,
Well, wonderful.
because when it comes down to it, people are going, "Oh, we need to heighten the minimum wage all the time." Cool. What does that result in? That results in every consumer good going up in price. That raises the cost of living exponentially every time it happens.
Okay,
If you allow the market to correct itself,
economists disagree exactly what would happen upon a minimum wage increase. It's really close to split down the middle. I tend to agree with the economists that say that when you give consumers more spending power, not only will they consume more, because this is like a Keynesian model, they pay more, they buy more goods because they have more money. When they buy those more goods, that means more people are hired by these companies. More people hired by the companies means more people who are consuming. More people who are consuming means more products bought, and it's cyclical. It's why that if like a dollar invested at the local state level equals $1.07 in growth. It's because it cycles throughout the economy, right? And so these increases that I'm told about of 1 to 2 to maybe even 3% in prices at McDonald's or Chipotle are things that I think consumers would be perfectly willing to consume if it meant that the workers who were working those were getting minimum wages. That also means they participate in the economy at a higher level. There's also the fact that when consumers are treated better and they're given higher wages, they usually perform better. This happens all the time, and it's been shown multiple times. There's multiple, I could give you multiple like personal examples, but that means nothing. But I believe statistically, I would have to go do some digging, but I can find you a few studies showing that when workers are respected, workers given good treatment, they actually perform like at a better level than if they're not. Definitely when it comes to wages and benefits.
The happier the workforce, the more productive they are. I mean, that's not even debatable. I don't think anyone would debate against that. my my argument is when you go up in things like your minimum wage, what you do is you actually cause the price of everything else to go up, because unless somehow you find a way to streamline the process to make it cheaper to manufacture those items, the price is going to have to go up to cover for the increased
Yeah,
cost of
I am
labor.
saying I agree, but these
Okay.
increases are not enough to undo the benefits from the increased wages, because like the projections that are given for these for the impact these wage increases are going to have are like 2 to 3%. Now, I don't believe a $15 minimum wage across the board is the perfect model. I would more prefer a minimum wage, but that's not even what you are asking, what we're debating. We're just debating the existence of the minimum wage, period. My perfect minimum wage model is there is a board that examines the standard of living and inflation of every state in the union, and maybe even the county level to get more precise. And then it
That's
sets
an interesting decision
and
there.
it sets the minimum wage based on the cost of living in that area for workers. And that would mean that even though there's some states that have lower cost of living, like West Virginia, that would be able to not have this sledgehammer completely on the federal level. Is this the thing that's going to be implemented? No. That's why we have the $15 minimum wage debate. So what I'm doing is really just jerking off to my own fantasies. But if the debate is about $15 minimum wage, that's where economists are divided, and I tend to agree with the more liberal economists. I think their arguments make more sense.
Well, I think the problem with the idea of something like a $15 minimum wage is when, like maybe in an area like where you are, in Maryland, I don't know the cost of living where you are
We
precisely.
passed a $15 minimum wage. I was actually there when they passed it. I was working in the Maryland General Assembly, and I talked to Senator Corey McCray, who was the man who steamrolled it in the Senate.
Right on. So what is the cost of a gallon of milk?
Cost of a gallon of milk?
Hmm.
I don't know. Last gallon of milk I bought was, I don't know, like $1.50.
Wow, that is the cheapest milk in America. You may want to buy that and export that shit. I'm just saying, because here in Oklahoma, where the where the minimum wage is about I think it's 7.50. It's 7.50 for the state. Here in Oklahoma City, I believe it may be $9. I'm not certain. Um, but the average cost of a gallon of milk is around $3.60.
I can actually go
Uh,
check. I just got a gallon of milk.
in
Okay.
in areas like LA in California where they have like a $15 minimum wage, they're paying upwards of about $6 to $7 per gallon.
Where?
Uh, in California, in like LA.
Milk is like, that's not true. That's just not true. I was just in LA. It was not that expensive.
The cost of a gallon of gas is also
It was
based on
not.
like regional deals.
It was not. Can you please show me a source of it being $7 for a gallon? That is preposterous. Because like it was like almost maybe $4. Like, and the reason why I get $1.50 milk is because I know good people, right? I know local farmers, right? That's why I get
so
it
you
cheap.
buy from local farmers, not from your local supermarket.
Sometimes, yeah, but my local supermarket,
awesome.
It would be more expensive. Yes.
Okay, so
Maybe like I don't know, like $2.50, maybe max.
let's see. Oh, so right now,
Everybody in
as
my
you
chat from LA are saying $3.5 to $4 a gallon, like $7.
yeah,
That's almost
what I'm
double.
seeing. That's what I'm seeing right here. I just checked it. No, I was wrong. Okay, I'll admit when I'm wrong. Um, I was told that by my uncle who lives in San Diego, and well, okay, he's wrong.
The thing is with
Maybe he's going to
California,
poke up my ass.
when I was there's this like mystical like curse that I think has been placed upon California when it comes to like a lot of right-wing commentators, and like there's heroin needles in the street, there's like chaos on the streets, there's like uprising with Antifa, and like I always feel that it's extremely exaggerated because I go there and it's always just seems like an extremely lovely place. It's just too hot for me. That's all. Like the cost of living is higher, of course, but it's not nearly like the apocalyptic prophecies that I'm told. I mean, California has, I think, what, the 7th largest economy in the world? That's something to be proud about.
I think maybe the 6th, to be honest.
Possibly the 6th.
California, I actually love the state. I think it has some of the most beautiful land in the nation. I just think their politics are a little insane sometimes, and I think some of it may be hyperbolized. And because I don't keep up with California politics. I live in a crazy state as it is, and keeping up with Oklahoma's is bad enough. Which they just made it legal to where you can run people over if they're protesting and blocking your way.
Yeah,
I actually have a slight problem with that.
Yeah, I have a big problem with it. Because the thing is, there was existing laws on the books before this to like protect people if people jump in front of your car or like purposely like do this types of stuff and defend yourself from violence during protests. The laws that are being passed now feels like it's going to incentivize people running over. Somebody tell me it's number 5 now in the world, running over protesters, which is going to disincentivize protests. I would not feel very comfortable going to a protest if I knew there was more protections than ever for somebody who was going to run me over.
See, yeah, I kind of agree with you there. Last year, I was working with a young man who was sleeping on the steps of the Oklahoma State Capitol.
Huh? By the way, we got to
He
wrap
wa
it up soon because we've been going for about an hour and a half. Actually, more than
Oh,
an hour and a
okay.
half.
He was wanting to he wanted to fight for police reform, and I thought it was at first when he told me what his ideas were, I was kind of like, I don't fully agree with that, but hey, let's talk about it. And it turned out what he really wanted is he wanted to improve the training for the police force, get them to not only do more de-escalation training with their officers, but also start community programs where officers would come to local high schools and stuff, and uh, try to help young students, learn how to deal with police when they do get pulled over. Because I mean, let's face it, I don't know how you were as a teenager, but myself was kind of an ass and still kind of am. But when a cop pulls me over, generally, I'll be like, hey, to let you know, even though it's not even state law, I let them know usually I'm armed, let them know where the gun is, and I keep my hands on the wheel and blah, blah, blah. Why am I like that? Because, well, people get nervous and they do dumb shit when they're nervous. Cops are no exception. And so we started talking, and he told me these ideas, and I was like, wow, this is some amazing stuff. I am with you. Which, I don't know, some people were surprised. And so we started, like, every night I would go up to the state capitol, check on him while he slept at random times, and gave him training on things like passive resistance. Like, he was arrested for trespassing. And he did the most amazing thing, dude. He did like the Mahatma Gandhi thing. He went completely limp, and they had to carry him off the steps, dude. It was brilliant. And he ended up letting him go because they're like, wow, this looks really bad for us optically. Because literally all he was doing was just standing on the steps. And in the mornings, when all the representatives and senators would come in, he'd stand there with a sign that says, I have grievances. Would you like to know more? And they'd have to walk by him. And well, they didn't like that. I'm sure it would, something like that probably wouldn't look good for any politician. But yeah, I work with activists of all types, mainly because I think everyone should stand up for their rights, and I try to keep them from getting messed up. He ended up getting arrested a couple times. Um, he broke through the security checkpoint to go use the bathroom one day. They didn't want to let him through, and so he broke through and he got arrested for that. He got arrested for trespassing in the people's house. And I was like, hey, that sucks, bro. And I mean, actually he just had his court date on that, and he was actually found not guilty. Because in the state of Oklahoma, they cannot deny you entry into the state house um, unless you're armed or something like that. It's one of the state law things, and so that was good for him. But it's sad that he had to go through all that, and still nothing happened. Sadly enough, working on several campaigns right now to try to get some of the people who actually promised him a lot of help, try to get them out of office. Of course, they're a mixture of Democrats and Republicans, because I don't hold any loyalty to any party.
That's
Party loyalty is stupid.
hey, it seems like you've told a very interesting story. That kind of went all over the place there. Party loyalty to a person protesting outside their local legislature.
Hey, that's the good stuff, right? That's actually what I usually advocate for, is for people to actually stand up for their rights. Something you
That's
would
the
probably agree with.
Palestinians. I'm sorry, I had to say it.
Hey, man, you're okay, dude. You're okay. Look, like I said, I'm not when it comes to Americans, I will do anything for an American.
I believe a
Non-Americans,
border
not so much.
does not dictate somebody's moral consideration. It's an imaginary line on a map.
So, do you believe in national sovereignty?
I do believe it to a certain degree, but I only believe it in an idea of practicality, not as like a like governing principle of the idea that, well, this government can do whatever the hell it wants because of national sovereignty. I believe
Okay.
people should be able to govern themselves to a certain degree within reason. That's why I disagree with genocide. Anyway, we have been talking for almost an hour and 50 minutes. I think we're good. It's good. It's a good time to wrap this up.
All right. Well, you take care, man.
You take care as well, Spark. God fucking damn it. Holy shit. Dude, man, I can't have these conversations anymore.